Welcome to another episode of the Tracy Take. I am your co-host Tyler Tracy, and here with my least favorite younger brother Ryan. Ryan, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm also your least favorite and favorite because when there's only one, it's the only place I can take. So
Thank you for explaining that to everyone out there. So
for I think the fifth episode in a row.
for the fifth episode in a row, yeah, I'll need to get a little more creative with my intros for you, but I think I can do it. I think I can continue to surprise you and our audience. We're at 21 subscribers. That is awesome. We love seeing it. Let's get up to 50 here by the beginning of the football season. I think that's highly doable.
I think we can do it.
I think we can do that. I think we can text 29 other people. Hey, go subscribe.
Yeah. Well, all we gotta do is share that Browns episode to Facebook, and we got it right
Oh
there.
yeah.
So,
We'll have a majority of our people. Yeah, and so, but this is gonna be a fun episode today. We're going to be doing an update on the top 5 quarterbacks that were drafted in this year's draft class. This was the hot buzz coming into this draft class. There's a lot of really, actually, besides the first pick, for the longest of time, it was going to be kind of discussing and debating who's going to be who's going to be taken next. And I think it's going to be great to do an update on some of these guys. And also, at the end of each segment, we're going to be talking about what we think would be a successful year for them, and also what would be a failing year for them. And a caveat, staying healthy would be a success for all of them. So we're not even going to mention any of that stuff, even though we probably will, because I've already forgotten what I've said. So anyways, but I think kind of just starting out, and Ryan, we were saying this at the beginning of the podcast and before we get into the each quarterbacks individually, how awesome was it and is it that 5 quarterbacks were taken in the first 15 picks? Like, it's the most important position, and this is going to change, really, I think, all 5 of these franchises for the next 5-10 years. And when we're looking at this draft, the 2021 draft, we're going to see who picked correctly, who did their work correctly, who stayed healthy, who panned out to be arguably one of the greatest quarterbacks ever of these guys. Because just law of averages, one of these guys is going to be really great, but one of these guys is not going to be really good. So,
and then 3 of them will probably be on a different team in the next 4 years.
Most likely. And if it's going based off just recent history, off the organization, Zach Wilson and Justin Fields will most likely be with a different team 3 to 5 years from now. So, and I'm only saying that not because I don't like the guys. I'm saying it because Mitch Trubisky and Sam Darnold are not on their current team. And were they drafted the same draft class or 1 year apart?
No, it was 1 year apart.
It was 1 year apart.
Mitch Trubisky was the class before Sam Darnold.
That's what it was. Okay. But still, same organization, and they're having to do the same thing. And everyone's talking about how great these guys are looking. And I've been seeing a lot of positive stuff. But looking back in the draft class, this is going to be one of those draft classes when you realize, like let's redraft this draft class and see how history could have been different if it played itself out in that way. And that's what this draft class is going to be like.
But so that's one of the things that I wanted to what I was telling you about before the episode even started, was that it's crazy to think that less than 2 decades ago, I mean, we were drafting 2 to 3 quarterbacks in the first round tops. I mean, you had the year where there was Ben Roethlisberger, Phillip Rivers, and Eli Manning, and that was a ton of quarterbacks to go in the first round back then. And then you had Aaron Rodgers and Alex Smith a few years later. And Aaron Rodgers went 23rd overall, and he was the second best QB prospect. He would have been a surefire top 5 pick in today's NFL game solely because he was the second best quarterback prospect at that time. And I get that he has had a much more successful career than Alex Smith, but it's something to think about, like how much the game has changed and how these teams realize how important it is to have a good quarterback. And I mean, they're willing to give the most premium thing that they have for it. So it's interesting to see how the game has changed. And I'm very excited to kind of get in and share my opinion on how these quarterbacks will be good or how they could potentially be bust for the teams that they went to.
Well, yeah, and it's interesting to see because you can see this draft class now, and you can see how the game of football has evolved over the
Mhm.
years, because um, I think it's safe to say all five of these guys, like to say Mac Jones is the weakest of the weakest runner of the quarterbacks, is saying something because he's still a pretty solid runner. He's no, I mean, he's no Matt Ryan where like he gets out of the pocket. He gets out of the pocket
Yeah.
and you're like, just don't get hit
I
hard.
mean, yeah,
Please
he's not.
slide. You know what I mean?
I
All
mean,
he can still go get that first down. But you're thinking about,
yeah,
you're talking about that draft class with Ben Roethlisberger, Eli Manning, and then Philip Rivers. All three of those guys, you can make a serious argument. Three of the slowest quarterbacks sent like to be drafted and to play the game since
yeah,
the early '90s.
yeah.
Say. And because you have to have a dual threat quarterback nowadays,
Hmm.
uh, and it's not really an option. Like your quarterback has to be able to throw the ball precisely and also run. There are still
Yeah.
some exceptions, only because these veterans are so great, like a Matt Ryan, Tom Brady. Drew Brees was able to stay in the league for so long because he was so accurate and was able to get rid of the ball super quickly and had a
Hmm.
great foundation around him. But now you're looking at all the young guys: Patrick Mahomes, Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson, even Baker Mayfield. Like he's the weakest runner of those guys. And
Hmm.
there's plenty of guys I'm missing just off the top of my head. But that
Yeah.
it's great to see the game evolve in front of our very eyes. And like you said, it's going
Yeah.
to be fun to see how this develops and who turns out to be a Hall of Famer and who turns out to be a bust. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely. I'm ready to kind of get right into the first overall pick, Trevor Lawrence. If you are,
let's do
kind
it.
of start talking about him.
Let's do it.
So coming into the draft, I mean, he was obviously the most highly touted quarterback.
Mhm.
He's only lost 2 or 3 games since his freshman year of high school, since he was a starting quarterback.
Yeah.
Uh, and so for me, he's had success at all levels. I think he is the best balance in this class between arm talent and athleticism and being able to put the ball in accurate places.
Hmm.
And I think that's why he will end up succeeding. I think he has, while this is Urban Meyer's first year in the NFL, I feel like he has an experienced coaching staff around him. Uh, and I mean, he's one of the best college coaches of all time. I mean, he's
Yeah.
won multiple national championships. He's coached some of the best college football players ever. So I feel like there is some experience there. While it's not the NFL level, I think it will help develop Trevor Lawrence. Uh, but he was probably the most ready to go. I
Hmm.
mean, like, and so I think he already has enough talent and enough wherewithal to be an NFL starter. And I think that is why he'll be successful, just because he's had success at every level. He knows how to win, and he has all the physical attributes to actually go and do it. Uh, so,
Yeah. No, it's going to be really fun to see him develop his career, especially this year. I've been saying this about Jacksonville. I think since draft day, it's going to be fun to watch this team because
mhm.
it's like last year when you're watching these veterans that just aren't good in this organization is just pitiful. It's not really fun to watch because there's no really reason to watch. You kind of know what's going to happen each week. But then now, when you have this young team with Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, they have Urban Meyer, arguably one of the greatest college coaches. Or you can make an argument for one of the greatest college coaches to ever play the game. Now he's trying it out with the NFL, and they're going to be fun to watch because they're unpredictable. So that's what's going to be very interesting to watch. There's an interesting stat I saw. I think it was on CBS Sports or Yahoo Sports, and they're talking about the pass percentage in Urban Meyer's offense. And in his last year at Ohio State, they only passed the ball 51% of the time. And now, of course, that year they were beating a lot of people
Yeah,
by a lot of points. So they probably were able to run the ball a little bit more often. But still, though, having that mentality, I think you need to have a run first offense. I think is really going to help out Trevor Lawrence, especially develop his game because we know that like the throwing and his deep ball capability and his accuracy is there, but it's going to allow him time to develop his defensive reading, to learn the offense and whatnot. And with a quarterback like Trevor Lawrence, who is so accurate with the passes and he can run, if he can become an expert at reading defenses, you can utilize RPO. He can know where to run the ball and where the holes are going to be on defense. You can utilize a play action. It's going to open up the whole offense. And now you do have Cam Robinson coming back as a Jaguars star running back. They did also I just saw this. They got Carlos Hyde as well. Added to the team. And then you have Travis Etienne, who sounds like he's going to be kind of a utility guy, a running back potential option, but also could be a slot receiver as well. So it's a lot of versatility on that offense. And I think it's only going to lead to success for Trevor Lawrence in the long run. And also it's going to be a really fun team to watch. Let's not forget, and I know it's kind of a different organization, but from 2017, but this franchise made it all the way to the AFC Championship game and almost beat your Patriots to go to the Super Bowl.
They should have. I don't know. They blew that game. But This is a totally different team now than what that team was then. I mean, I think it's I don't know if there's even any players from that team left on the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, Jalen Ramsey was the face, and he's the face of that team, but he's not even there anymore. That's a good point. I wonder who is still on that.
And then they had Calais Campbell on that defensive line. I don't even know if they have any players left. While I think Trevor Lawrence is the most likely to be successful, I do think he does have, I guess, a little bit more of a dark side than I think people led on to in the draft. For me, one of his biggest concerns was that sometimes he was in the pocket, he did not have pressure, and he openly missed receivers. It did not happen often. You could probably count it on two hands. But at the NFL level, when you have to do everything faster, sometimes some of those issues can show through. Another thing that I've kind of heard from camp is that he's struggling a little bit under center and taking snaps directly. Mm-hmm. But lastly, my biggest concern with Trevor Lawrence, he hasn't lost a regular season game, like I said, since high school. I mean, he went undefeated all 3 seasons at Clemson. They lost to Notre Dame this past year, but Trevor Lawrence was out with COVID. And so, for me, I am very curious to see how he's going to react when they get in the NFL and they go 6-13 or 6-11.
Mm-hmm. I can see that. I understand those points. I would say, only time will tell. On how, because I think they are going to have a losing record this year. I think we both picked them to go about 4-13 or 5-12 this year.
Yeah.
And so it is going to be an adjustment for him on what it's going to be like to be on a losing team. But I will say though, I don't get that vibe from him, and I don't get that vibe from any of these quarterbacks. And it's easy to say I don't know them personally, but especially with Trevor Lawrence, I feel like he is just kind of one of those guys, like nothing's going to get him down. I feel like he's kind of a faith-based kind of guy, and not to say that can't have an effect, but you do have a solid point because we've never seen him at the bottom, but. When he lost to LSU last year, and he did look dejected. That was his first ever loss, actually, in a football game. I think.
Ever?
I mean, maybe going to Pee Wee. I wouldn't even know, but I feel like he came back even stronger in the in this upcoming year. Yeah, of course they did end up losing to an Ohio State team that just caught fire in an absolutely odd year. But I honestly thought that he looked better. And I think his stats even showed. I think in 2019 he threw for 3,500 yards in 15 games. And if I'm not mistaken, I think in 10 games in 2020, because he missed some time because of COVID, he threw for 3,000 yards. Let me double check that. But I think he's going to. I think he's only going to come back stronger. And for me, one of the things that concerns me with him is just making sure that he doesn't take too many hits. He's a big, lanky guy. Oh, sorry. Yeah. I'll just go back to the point. Yeah, he did. So in 2019, he played 15 games, threw for 3,600 yards. And in 2020, playing only 10 games, he threw for 3,100 yards, 31 and a half, 3,153 yards. I'll just
Okay.
yeah. But one of the biggest things for me, and I guess this would kind of go into what would make it a failure season for him, is if he takes too many hits. He's
Yeah.
a big, lanky guy, and he didn't really get hit too much at Clemson, but that was kind of with the offense that they were running. I think he did a good job of getting rid of the ball and picking the right receiver overall. But I think it's he's going to be playing more games than he's ever played before, so it's just going to be more opportunities for him to get hit. And so having that internal clock when he's staying in the pocket, I got to get rid of the ball in 2.5 seconds because I know these guys are coming with me. Or doing a rollout play and he's going to run. Know to slide. Know where the first down is, or take it out of bounds. Try and get that extra yard, but don't be too only because he's just such a big, lanky guy. I feel like it could be a potential to maybe add a couple extra injuries.
Yeah. And I do agree with that. I would hate to see him kind of turn into a David Carr situation where, I mean, after 3 years in the NFL, I mean, he's been hit over 200 times.
Yeah.
And like he was sacked, I think, over 40 times.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to see that happen to anybody. And so, for me, I hope they can protect him. But I also think that they've done a good job of putting a lot of talent around him. And so I feel like he might be in the most even scenario where I think there's as much pressure on him as it is the rest of the team and the coaching staff to kind of make sure that he gets along the way he does.
Yeah.
Or the way he should.
Yeah. Well, it kind of go back to what we were saying, that he is – I think he's in a great situation. And him and Zach Wilson, who we're going to get to in a second, it's kind of nice where they're not fighting for a QB spot, kind of like how the other three guys are, for example. Because – and I'll talk a little bit more about this with Zach Wilson. But go out there and sling it and learn from your mistakes. And that's what I think Trevor Lawrence will do that. I will say, just kind of end on one of the things I think that a stat I think that I think he can easily achieve, which would be a great progress for him. So he threw for over 3,000 yards in all of his college games. Now I think with this extra 17th game, I'm predicting right now, I think Trevor Lawrence is going to throw for over 4,000 yards this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
I could see it, especially too in a kind of I don't say pass happy offense, but as the league kind of shifts more that way, as we talked about in our introduction, I could see I definitely could see it.
Yeah.
When was the last time a quarterback threw for 4,000 yards? A rookie quarterback.
Well, Justin Herbert did it last year.
Okay.
Yeah, Justin Herbert did it in 15 games. I think he had like 4,500 yards. Like I think he was top 5 in QB passing yards last year. And that's what it's still amazing to me. He played one less game than everybody else because Tyrod Taylor was supposed to be the guy, but then a doctor punctured his lungs, and then Justin Herbert had to come in and dominated ever since then.
Only 4 quarterbacks have ever done it. Andrew Luck, Justin Herbert, Cam Newton, and Jameis Winston.
Oh, okay.
So
interesting.
That's kind of a good. That'd be a good goal to shoot for. I guess.
Who were the top? Who were the guys again?
Andrew Luck, Justin Herbert, Cam Newton, and Jameis Winston.
So 3 of those 4 guys were number 1 picks.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be that far fetched.
No.
And
it's all been they've all been in the last 10 years.
Yeah. And Justin Herbert was 5th overall.
Yeah, I think so. 5th or 6th.
No. Tua was. Justin was after.
Yeah, he was the pick after Tua. I know that.
Okay.
I want to say he was 6th then.
Okay.